Cunanan. He's been one of our top 10 fugitives now for several weeks.
This is the person that's wanted in the homicide of Mr. Versace.
The search for the prime suspect in the Versace killing is now
for Andrew Cunanan,
who is wanted for a total of 5 murders.
The FBI is describing it as an intense manhunt.
Everybody's got to help us put this guy in jail.
Cunanan should be considered extremely dangerous and armed at this time.
He always wanted to be someone. He wanted to be famous. He wanted to have money. He wanted to have all the toys.
I always remember looking at him and going, wow, how does he pull it off? You know, he's really got this energy about him.
He did have a real role to him. He was a party fellow.
He had this certain laugh about him that could be heard on the other side of the bar.
Ha, 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 ha.
He was a big teddy bear, always there with a hug and sweet and kind. I would have never in a million years dreamed that Andrew could hurt someone.
Andrew Cunanan was a loser. He wanted to be a part of the society, but he wanted to cheat his way into it.
I think while all this was going on, Andrew was wondering where he was going to place in the Serial Killer Hall of Fame.
It began in California, near the Pacific, the ocean whose name means peace. But the life of Andrew Cunanan was anything but peaceful. He spent his life trying to stay one step ahead of everyone else. In his dreams and in his lies, he was an heir to a fortune, or an aspiring actor, or a witty young man with an ex-wife and daughter. He lived behind stories and half-truths, yet to many friends, to know Andrew Cunanan was to love him.
Andrew was outgoing, fun-loving, caring, boisterous, goofy, someone who loved life.
He could have been anything.
Good morning, FBI.
But instead, Andrew Cunanan became one of the most notorious and hunted criminals in America. It would all come to a brutal end inside a Miami Beach houseboat, thousands of miles from where his life began, in suburban San Diego, a place where every family worked to try to fulfill the American dream, a dream that Andrew Cunanan would twist into a nightmare. Summer 1969. The sun was setting on a troubled and violent decade. For a brief time, the world looked up in awe and wonder at the promise of a new age as Neil Armstrong took his first steps on the moon.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
But in San Diego, California, Modesto and Marianne Cunanan had their own reasons for remembering that extraordinary time. That was when they welcomed into the world their youngest child. The last of 4 children, he was born on August 31st in 1969 in Paradise Valley Hospital. The Cunanans, both Catholic, baptized their boy Andrew Phillip, the names of 2 apostles. His father, Modesto, had come to the United States from the Philippines and was serving in the U.S. Navy. Andrew's mother, Marianne, had been a San Diego telephone operator. The Cunanans lived a routine life in a working-class suburb, National City. It is one of the poorest cities in America. But the Cunanans seemed determined to move up, to make a better life for their children, especially for Andrew. Modesto doted on the boy.
Andrew's father paid an awful lot of attention to him, and I think cultivated in his son an interest in education and an interest in the finer things. My recollection is that they had a fairly modest existence, but I understood from his father that there was a drive to want more.
In 1972, Modesto retired from the Navy and got a job as a stockbroker, while Marianne raised the children. She was deeply religious, and she had a powerful influence on Andrew. He read the Bible by age 7, became an altar boy, and for a time thought of becoming a priest. His mother was seen almost every day in church, and there was a solemn, almost church-like atmosphere in the Cunanan home as well.
It was a very quiet place. It was almost tomb-like in many ways. And I think for Andrew it was a stifling environment.
When Andrew was 9, his family moved to a better neighborhood, Bonita, and his world was transformed.
Between Bonita and National City, the contrasts are just so obvious. Bonita, majority of the people that lived in Bonita, very comfortable. Most people, everybody had a swimming pool and rode horses, went on vacations, had their jet skis, their snow skis.
It did not take long for Andrew to see the stark difference between the world he left behind in National City and the world he embraced in Bonita. His tastes began to change.
Andrew was over at my house, and he was complaining because there wasn't any Perrier. And at 13, soda water was like drinking Alka-Seltzer. You know, you just didn't want it. And he was complaining because there wasn't any. And I thought, I just 13 years old complaining there wasn't any Perrier. To me, that was just really bizarre.
Well, he would be the type of person that people back at that time, if they had penny loafers, would put pennies inside their penny loafers. But he'd be the type of person that put dimes. It was just like one up on everyone else, you know, just to make himself known.
When he was a teenager, his parents moved again to Rancho Bernardo. The Cunanans had climbed one more rung up the economic ladder. But friends remember the Rancho Bernardo house for other reasons.
It was basically, by and large, dirt on the backyard. And Andrew used to point through vertical blinds at the back of his house to the backyard and tell me about his father doing target practice for the Filipino mafia. And I would just laugh him off.
Modesto and Marianne managed to send their youngest son to one of the most exclusive private schools, the Bishop's School in La Jolla. The tuition, $9,000 a year. There, Andrew began to rub elbows with the sons and daughters of San Diego's elite. This, Andrew felt, was where he belonged.
Andrew's the most status-conscious person I've ever met to this day. He always wanted to be someone. He wanted to be famous. He wanted to have money. He wanted to have all the toys. He always pretended to have more than he really did, or he wanted you to think he had more than he did. And I just always knew that it wasn't true. It was all fantasy.
His classmates also came to know something else about Andrew. He made no secret of the fact that he was attracted to men and would whistle at members of the male water polo team. By some reports, he even began having liaisons with older, wealthy men. He developed affectations, telling friends his favorite TV show was Brideshead Revisited, and at times he even carried around a teddy bear, like the character Sebastian. Andrew could be colorful and exuberant among his friends, but some saw his behavior as little more than an act.
I believed probably 10% of what Andrew said, and 90% of it I wrote off to Andrew wanting attention, even down to his homosexuality. I thought that was an act. And really I think that ultimately Andrew was not gay. As insane as that may sound, I think Andrew found an act that was convenient for getting attention, and the sexual aspects of his life had nothing to do with that act.
In 1987, Andrew Cunanan graduated from the Bishop's School. His classmates voted the outrageous 18-year-old the most likely to be remembered. Certainly, they would not forget his yearbook page. While his classmates filled the pages with their accomplishments, Andrew's entry was nearly empty. Others listed their hometowns. Not Andrew. He seemed intent on covering up what he did and where he came from.